If you'd like to see more of our videos, hit the subscribe button to stay on top of the market news. Good morning, traders. Welcome to today's market review. This is Fred Razak at CMtrading. Today is September 14, 2020. And today is Wednesday morning. So looking at the highlights of the day, we're watching the markets consolidate right before this major FOMC meeting. This is happening on Wednesday. But first, let's take a look at the various markets. So starting out with the Forex symbols, we've got just a few things happening. Majors pretty much are tapering off as the market consolidates right before this massive number coming out on Wednesday. Looking at the indices, the Nasdaq and the Dow Jones both bounce in early morning trading today right before this FOMC. Now, the markets did sell off quite aggressively over the past week and a half, so I do expect this bounce. Now, looking at the commodities, gold trades on upper range around the 1950-ish level, looking to break out while oil trickles down. And lastly, looking at the stocks, mostly very weak, but Microsoft looks like it wants to bounce off support, and we may get an uptick today. So let's take a look at the markets and see what we can expect from today's trade. So taking a look here at the Euro USD at a 4-hour chart, and pretty much you could see that we're at this mid-range. 1849 is where we're at. Upper limit is 19-ish level. Lower limit is 118. So smack in the middle, okay? So can't get better than that. I mean, this is after last week's massive fade opportunity that we had right here, and I do expect to have another fade opportunity later this week. What this means is that especially because it's not trading near an extremity, either the upper range or the lower range, it means the markets are really not confident about which way this number will actually go. So take a look at this later as this develops into this week. Now, looking at the USD or the Aussie USD, trading at 72.38, also not doing much. Okay, so we don't have so many big things, major items that are just trading in massive range. Okay, looking at the GBP USD, it is at support here after being clobbered last week. Okay, after taking that little bit of a nosedive from 133.89 down to 128.20-ish level. Now, it looks like it's going to bounce off of this level. I do expect it to bounce off of this level. So something to consider going into today's trading. Now, bouncing into the commodities, okay, no pun intended, looking at gold, trading at 1948 right now, just below that 1950-ish level. But this cannot be done better, okay? Look at this, look at this massive resistance that we have here, okay? But as soon as this gets broken, okay, with some volatility and some follow through, I think we could actually push higher. I don't want to celebrate that too soon because the markets might come back. The equity markets might rally this week with the anticipation with some good news from the FOMC. So something to consider as we look at this today. Now, looking at oil, pretty much in the dumps, 37.45. There's no anticipation that the market will pick up on this, and there's no anticipation that we will get stronger, so just keep this in mind. However, looking at the Dow Jones and looking at the Nasdaq, let's take a look at the Nasdaq first. We're looking at a 4-hour chart, a nice bounce from 10,958 up to 11,244. This is just this morning. So with that said, we're up about 300 points, okay? But it does look like it's consolidating here. You do need to see that the stocks are going up also in order for us to get that confirmation. When we look at the Dow Jones, it did bounce at 27,926, a little bit more aggressive than the Nasdaq, but I do expect it to play catch up. Now, we do have resistance at 28,000. That is significant, so just be aware of that is still a significant place for us to break on the upside. I'm not sure that we will. We may get that from that FOMC meeting, so that may push us even higher. Now, looking at the individual stocks, very weak. We're going to first start out with Microsoft. It did sell off aggressively from $231 in a week and a half down to $200. Now, that was a support and resistance-ish level of several times, okay? If we look at a daily chart, you can see a little bit better. And we are bouncing off of it. We're at 203. So I don't want to say we're going to break this 200 level, okay? But it does look like we're going to be trading between this 200 and this 215 as this continues later this week. However, looking at Facebook, very weak here at 265, but also at a previous resistance, subsequent support level as well, 264. You can see that right there. So I do expect these things to actually bounce off. Now remember, also, once one stock bounces, then you should have a slew of other stocks that are bouncing as well. So keep that in mind. Looking at Amazon, it did break that down upwards trend line, okay, quite aggressively at 331. Now, what is a previous trend line as support, it is a subsequent resistance. So even if we do rally back, and I do expect us to rally back, okay, I think we will have resistance at that resistance-ish trend line now. Okay, so something that makes sense there. Now, looking at Jpmorgan, this one is actually strong. Okay, now you do see that it's forming this wedge formation, okay, ascending wedge formation, and it does need to break this above 103 to sustain it, okay, but keep that in mind as this is really making some waves here, okay, technically speaking. However, looking at Cisco, not that strong, okay, it did break down, although we got an uptick, it did continue to sell off. So altogether, the markets are getting softer. It's just whether or not the long-term effect as we go into the balance of September, and especially if we go into October selling off. Now, it is an election year, okay, that is generally a bearish time, okay, not really sure which way the government policies will be going, and as such, markets don't like uncertainty and markets sell off in uncertainty. So keep that in mind as we go in to the balance of this month and the balance of this of the cycle right before the election. So keep that in mind. This is Fred Razak, and I wish everybody a great trading day. Thank you.